Welcome. You are watching section 7.5, sample space. Go ahead and press pause and write down the information. Press play when you're ready. So a sample space is a list of the total number of outcomes, okay, and we're talking about probability. So the total number of outcomes possible given a certain situation. So today we're going to talk about 3 different ways that you can find the sample space of a problem. Okay, one of the ways is called the tree diagram. This is a diagram that shows all possible outcomes, okay? And I'll show you how to set that up in some of the examples. And then we also have the fundamental counting principle, which says if there are m outcomes for a first choice and n number of outcomes for a second, then to find the total number of outcomes, you can just multiply the m and the n together, where once again the m represents the number of outcomes, number of choices, and n represents the number of outcomes or choices. Okay, I do want you to make sure you write the entire problem out. Okay, Mr. Colling and I are going to make sure that you're writing the full example out. There's only 3. I know you have to actually write some sentences, but this is going to help you when you come to take your test or your quiz. Okay, so our first one. While on vacation, Carlos can go snorkeling, boating, and paragliding. In how many ways can Carlos do the 3 activities? Make an organized list to show the sample space. Okay, so your choices are snorkeling, boating, paragliding. So I'm going to represent snorkeling as an S, boating as a B, paragliding as a P. They want to know in how many ways can Carlos do the 3 activities. So he can go snorkeling, boating, paragliding. Then he can go snorkeling, paragliding, boating. Then he can go, I can't do anything with snorkeling first, so I'm going to go paragliding first, then boating, then snorkeling, or paragliding, snorkeling, then boating. Okay, so here's option 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so now I'm going to do boating first, snorkeling, paragliding, and then boating, paragliding, snorkeling. Now, what is helpful when you're making an organized list is that whatever letter you start with or activity you start with, you need to make sure you stay with that until you have listed all the possible choices behind that first choice. Okay, if you start going all over the place, you're going to skip things and forget certain activities. Okay, I don't want to do snorkeling, boating, paragliding, and then skip down to paragliding, boating, snorkeling without finishing what else would I could do snorkeling, with snorkeling as the first activity. Okay, so these are all my possible choices. So make an organized list to show the sample space. Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outcomes, but the actual sample space are the answers. The answers are, or I'm sorry, the sample space is actually the list of answers. So this would be called your sample space, which is the list of your outcomes. Okay, and I have 5 different choices, or 5 different ways that I could do these activities. Okay, the next way we're going to show you is using a tree diagram. So I have a car can be purchased with either 2 doors or 4 doors. You can also choose leather, fabric, or vinyl seats. Use a tree diagram to find all the buying options. So once again, all the buying options represents the sample space. Okay, so car is purchased with either 2 or 4 doors. So these are my first 2 outcomes. So I'm going to put the number of doors. And then I'm also choosing what type of seats. Okay, so to make your tree diagram, the number of doors I have to choose from are 2 and 4. And I want to leave some space because from these I'm going to branch out. That's why it's a tree diagram. The 3 different types of seats, which would be leather, fabric, or vinyl. Branch it out from 4, leather, fabric, or vinyl. Now, the reason we branched out from both of them, because if I buy a 2-door with leather, that's different than buying a 2-door with fabric, or a 2-door with vinyl, or a 4-door with leather, or 4-door with fabric, a 4-door with vinyl. So this is showing you all your possible outcomes. So my sample space is just showing all the outcomes, which would be 2-door with leather, 2-door with fabric, 2-door with vinyl, 4-door with leather, 4-door with fabric, and a 4-door with vinyl. So once again, this is your answer. These are all of your buying options when choosing to buy your car. Okay, so when you're doing a tree diagram, you're going to set it up as what you're looking for. What are your outcomes? What are you trying to find? What are your options, I guess would be another way to put it too. My options are choosing doors and choosing the type of seats. Okay, and then from each, I'm going to branch out to the next. Okay, and the last one is using fundamental counting principle. So it says a number cube is rolled with a spinner of 4 equal sections marked A, B, C, and D is spun. Use the fundamental counting principle to find the total number of possible outcomes. So first I'm going to show you with the tree diagram again because I think you need another example of that. And then I'll show you with fundamental counting principle. Okay, so I have a number cube. So that's your first thing you're going to do is roll your number cube. Now on a number cube, you are choosing the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And move this out of the way because that's how many outcomes there are on a die. Okay, there are 6 outcomes because there are 6 numbers. So that's your first. After you roll the cube, then you're going to spin your spinner. And from the spinner, you are either getting an A, a B, a C, or a D. So your sample space, giving you the number of outcomes, for the first, would be getting a 1A, a 2B, a 3C, or I'm sorry, what am I doing? Sorry about that. A 1B, rolling a 1, spinning a B, rolling a 1, spinning a C, rolling a 1, spinning a D. Then you're going to branch out the same thing from 2 because I could then roll a 2 and spin an A. So 2A, then 2B, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's another way to make your tree diagram. Once again, you're going to put what you're actually doing, the activity. So I am rolling a cube and I'm spinning a spinner. And underneath it, you're going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, the number of outcomes for the cube. And out of that first activity, then you're going to stem out the second, which is spinning your spinner. And from each number in this case, I'm going to put all my 4 outcomes. Now with fundamental counting principle, this makes it a little bit easier. Remember it said if there are M outcomes for a first choice and N outcomes for the second choice, then the total number of outcomes can be found by multiplying them together. So you need to decide how many outcomes are there when you spin a number cube. There are, we've already talked about that, 6. How many outcomes are there when you spin your spinner? There are 4. A, B, C, and D. So in order to find the number of outcomes, you just multiply them together. 6 times 4, and that gives you 24 outcomes. Now this does not give you a sample space. If you wanted a sample space, you would have to use a tree diagram. Okay, but this does give you the number of outcomes in your problem. Okay, if you have any questions, watch it again. Ask Mr. Kohlinger or I about this tomorrow. Hopefully we'll be able to help you. And don't be afraid to take your notes today and then watch it again tomorrow. That's not a bad idea. Okay, as always, thank you for watching.